Hello learners, welcome to Triaright. Today we will be going through the URL and HTTP connections. So here we will learn about the understand new Java, how Java handles URL and HTTP connections, use the URL and URL connections classes. It also sends HTTP GET and POST request to different places. Now read and pass data from web servers. You will also read and pass data from web servers and use HTTP URL connections to modern web connections. For making various web connections, we will be reading all these things. And coming to this URL in Java, in a URL uniform resource locator. It stands for uniform resource locator. Is a reference to the resource to the internet on the internet. In Java, it provides the java.net.url class to handle URLs. Java provides java.net.url class to handle URLs. For example, creating URL object or URL object. Yeah, you need to import the files from the package. You import java.net.star. Now we have the class URL example. We have the classes URL example. The class here URL example, which has the public static void main string args as a main method line, which throws mail formed URL exceptions, which throws mail formed URL malformed URL infection exceptions. And similarly, it also throws output message such as protocol. This is the output message protocol plus the URL get protocol URL.get protocol. It will help us in getting the URL uniform resource locator dot get protocol. It will get the protocol of the particular URL which we provide there. Yeah. Now again we have the system.out.println host message, that is the host message, and it will get the host URL.get host. It will get the host of all those URL. It will get the host of all those URLs. Now we have to print the system.out.println port message plus the URL.get port. It will help us to getting the port of the URL provided URL. It will get the port of the URL provided here. Now again we have coming to the next line. We have the system.out.println path as a message plus the URL plus get path. It will get the path of the provided URL. It will get the path of the provided URL. Now we have system.out.println query. It will help the it will print the message query plus the URL.get query. It will help us to provide get query from the provided URL. Yeah. Now URL collections. Now coming up to the URL collections, if they are used to establish a connection in the resource referenced by the URL, they are used to establish the connections that the provided URL is referencing. That is that it will help us in connection establishing connections that the resource referenced by URL, the URL which is a resource referenced. Now subclass. Now coming up to the subclass, HTTP URL connections, more common by HTTP and HTTPS. Here the URL connection, HTTP URL connection, hypertext protocol, that is URL, that they are the uniform resource locator connections. They are the URL uniform resource locator connections. More common form of HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS. Yeah. Reading from the URL HTTP GET request, we will have to form for reading from any kind of uniform resource locator. We need HTTP GET request. For that, we will import from the Java package, import java.net.star and java.io.star. So these are the packages that are imported. And here we have the class HTTP GET example, HTTP GET example, which has the main method line which throws exception, which has the main method line public static void main string args, which throws exception, which throws an exception. Here we are writing URL equals new URL. Here this line creates a URL object that represents a complete stale web address that represent complete web address. This web address complete representation of a web address. Here URL, here small URL. This is the URL. It declares and initialize a variable URL. It declares and initialize a variable URL of type URL. This is of type URL. Yeah. And so the new URL, coming on to this new URL, it creates a new instances of the URL. It creates a new instance of this URL. It creates a new instance of this URL class by using the specified address. By using the specified address, here the address is www.example.com. So it's creating a new instance of this. Yeah. Now HTTP URL connections. HTTP URL connections. This is a variable form of the HTTP URL connections. URL dot open connections. It will accept all the open connections that will come from the URL dot open connections. And now coming to the connections dot set request dot get connection dot set request method dot get. It will help us in getting the connections that will be requested. That will set the request from the get. Yeah. Now buffer reader in. This is the n, which is the object form. This is the object form of the buffer reader, and with the help of new buffer reader, new input stream reader, get connections input stream. It will help us in providing. It will help us in getting an input connections. It will help us in get input connections. It will help us in getting input stream input stream method connections to the input stream reader. Yeah. Now string input line. There is a string input line. This is a field provided here. This is a string provided here. While this input line is equals this input line initialized with is this input line is not null. It is having a value. While this input line is not null, this value comes from in dot read line. In dot read line not equal to null. It will read the lines, and till the lines are line the in dot read line till the line is not equal to not empty, not null. System it will print system dot out dot println input line. It will print the input line here. So we started in, so we need to close it. In dot close, we will close it, and connection dot disconnect. We will also close it. Connection dot disconnect will close the method. This connection method. Connection object created. Open. And coming on to sending data HTTP post request. Coming on to sending data HTTP post request. We have to import these packages. Import java.io.star and java.net.star. Yeah. We have the class. Here we have the class HTTP post example, which has a public static void main string args as the main method line, which will throw exception, which throws exception. Now we have the URL. We have the URL object form, URL object a variable form, which will accept the with the help of this new URL, which accepts the this postman.com. Yeah. Here URL is a class. Here URL is a class. URL is a class. This is a class. URL is a class that represents a uniform resource locator, essentially address to a address. It is essentially representing an address to a resource on the web. A new URL. New URL means that this new URL creates a new object pointing to the web address. Pointing to the web address. URL is a variable. Here URL small URL. This URL is a variable that stores an object. It will store the object. It will store the object. Now coming further, we have the HTTP URL connections on. Here we have the connections that is made by the help of this one and HTTP URL connections. URL dot open connections. When there will be an open connections, it will connect to URL. This open connections and is getting the connections from the URL. Now connection dot set request method. This will set the request method to the post. This connection dot set request method will set the request to the post, and connection dot to output is true. When until and unless this connection is set to true, when it is having the value true, is having a connection, till then. And connection dot set request priority. It will set the priority request priority to the connection with the message connection type and application this www.form.url encoded. Yeah. And now coming to the string post data, we have the string post data, which is a variable initialized with this message. We see a variable initialized with this message. Now connect output stream OS. This OS is the object form. Object is of variable form, and new connections dot get output stream. With the connection dot get output, we get all the output string in connection with the get in connection with that. Yeah. Now OS dot write, it will write all the get bytes data in connection with post data in connection with the post data. Now OS dot flush, it will flush out all the whatever the unrequired thing is there. It will remove, flush out, and OS dot close, and it will close the OS which we started. Now in here we have found an object of the in here we have found object in with a new buffered reader. With the help of new buffered reader, new buffered input stream, here we are getting new input stream reader which has the connection to connection dot get input stream, which is having connections to get input stream reader. Yeah. Now string input line, you have the int string input line as a variable field initialized here, and while this input line is having a value, until and unless till input line is not null, it will get the values from this. It will be getting the value, it will be getting a line, it will be getting an input line. And similarly these lines will be printed here, these lines will get printed here, and in dot close, finally we will close this in, close this in, and connection dot disconnect, finally we disconnect that method. Yeah. Now we have the important methods in URL. Methods: set request method in get, set request method in double quotes get. It sets STVP method, it will set the STVP method, hypertext transfer protocol method. Yeah. Get input stream, it will read server responses. This method help us in reading, this method help us in reading server responses. Get output stream, it send request, body, it sends request body, and send request property, it will, this method send request property, it sets header like content type, it sets the headers like content type. And get response code, get response code, this method will return HTTP status code, it will return the HTTP status code, what the status is. And disconnect, this will close the connections, Yeah. Now JSON response handling. Yeah. We can get we can integrate org.json, JSON or Jackson or parse JSON from API responses. Assuming that we have received a JSON string response, and use org.json or JSON library to parse and map it. We can similarly use org.json or JSON library. You can use org.json or JSON library to parse and map it. Now here we have, for the best practice, we will always close streams. When we have started the clean streams, we need to close them also. We should try with resource preferred, which will always try with resource preferred, and check HTTP responses code that for reading content. We should check the HTTP responses code for reading context and handle exceptions. We should always handle exceptions as malformed URL exceptions and IO exceptions, as malformed URL exception or IO exception. So here we learned about the concept Java, the concept, this represents URL, the uniform resource locator. And we have studied about the open connections in the Java class called URL collections and SAP URL connection, and SAP URL connection. Now we studied about the read input from the read input, from get input stream class, and similarly we studied about the send output concept from the get output stream class, and finally we studied about the get and post. We learned about the get and post concept from the set request method class, Now we come to the end of class. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.